Hello and welcome to Cymatic TV. This is your midweek energy update with yours truly, Tom Lawless. We will be going for all the usual stuff, the chakra vibrations across the globe, how that's been affecting us, how that's affecting your energies, but we'll also be going into solar cycles. Is the sun going into a gestation period? That'll be interesting to find out. Also about the solar cycles according to climate change or global temperatures, and also to do with pandemics, influenza pandemics. And we'll see if what we're going through at the moment, if that relates to the solar cycle. It will be an interesting, revealing show today. So stay with us just at the end. We'll be talking about the majority of that stuff right at the end. But before we do, let's just get into what's been happening with the sun. So we've got a lot to cover this today in the energy update. As you can see by this picture, we've had quite a bit of snow and it's been very cold here. The mountains have never been so covered. It would be great to go skiing. We can't. But you can take cable cars up the mountain, but you can't sit on a chairlift. Beggars belief. Anyway, let's get on with what's going on in our sun. So, this is the week from the 29th of December coming right through up to today. As you can see, there's not a lot been going on. We've had a few coronal holes that's been creating quite a few earthquakes, which we'll be looking at a little bit later on. There's not been much in the way of sunspots, and the vibration certainly hasn't been zippy. It's been much more sort of laid back and relaxed. But as you can see just there on the bottom of the screen, on the 2nd and the 3rd, so that was 3 days ago, 4 days ago, we had an eruption of a solar filament. Let's just have a look at that in close context here. So here it is coming around here. You can see these two filaments to the right, to the left-hand side of the screen, just below that coronal hole. And as it gradually turns round in the direction of the Earth, it will release those filaments of plasma in the direction, there it goes, and you can see the ripple as it goes around, there it is, and it creates a different sort of surface to the sun, makes it a little bit more sort of electric, and we get into these sort of cycles, which are these in-between cycles. I did go into this in slight detail on another energy update. Go back into the playlist and see in there, subscribe and click the bell so you can actually get these information straight off the bat, as it were. But these filament elements, I've described them as umbilical cords, and these umbilical cords, energies, they're the real sort of building blocks of society, building blocks of DNA. So we'll be going into this a little bit further in the end of the video, so make sure you stay with us, and you may be able to sort of see, is the sun going through a gestation period? Let's see what's been happening to the Earth and that X-ray flux that's been coming our way. That's that zippy energy that we like, that keeps everybody very happy, which at the moment, because there is nothing going on in the sun, we have had like a relapse, really, into vibrations that is synonymous to a year ago, or even sort of 4 or 5 months ago. So you may be feeling it as a downward trend, and you might feel it as a almost as like a moments of depression. So if you have those sort of tendencies, make sure you start investigating your pleasures in life and exploring new avenues. So when you're feeling a little bit down, just try and play a bit of music, try and do a bit of painting. Even if you're the worst artist in the world, I am the worst artist in the world, but I'll have a go. So make sure you have a go. But as we can see with the sun, with the Earth up there on the green and yellow bars, we did take a bit of that coronal hole wind that came through, and that could well be also those filament energies that arrived, but I would have thought they'd be arriving maybe later on today, going right through the next day or so. So it is quite heavy energy, but it's not heavy in the coronal hole energy, and that's what we've just been having coming through over the last couple of days. So you may have woke up this morning just feeling a little bit flat. I certainly was. When you realise it, it's actually easier to pick yourself out of the depression, out of feeling the blues. So, and you can move on to feeling happy and buoyant again. So, make sure you you do explore all different avenues of your pleasures in life and activities, because it will do you good stead. It will keep your immune system up and everything like that. And I've noticed in my healings that I've been doing as well, that before Christmas, the run up to Christmas, there was a lot more depression. And I think that's due to lockdowns and stuff like that, because it's not a natural depression, as it were. And then last week, I saw a few people who were very sort of agitated, almost like a manic depression in a way. And that's due to various other sort of aspects, but I would associate it with lockdown as well. And this is across the board. These are people I see from the UK, but also the people I see from France. So, you know, do take care of yourself. Do explore the other avenues of your life that you've never had the chance to explore if you're in lockdown. You know, do get into sort of trying to do a bit of painting, trying to do a bit of music, just trying to do a bit of knitting. I crocheted my own hat, my own bonnet, you know, my white one that I wear, you know, when I broke my ribs. It's good to just explore these things. It doesn't necessarily mean you're going to do it for the rest of your life, but it's good to explore. Let's quickly just go through the vibrations that have been happening with the earthquakes since just before the new year. That heart chakra is still ringing out, and so is that throat chakra. So this is why we've been getting quite a few announcements coming on. Not a lot going on in the sacrum, and certainly not a lot in the root. That plexus, or that solar plexus, sorry, that was sort of picking up on the 30th, is actually came through on the 31st, sorry, along with the throat chakra. So that's still forcing the communication out. It's forcing people to talk about things and get things sorted. As life goes on, it would be better if you get them sorted now, because once the energies pick up in June, and they will really pick up in June from the sun respectively, you know, it might be a little bit more difficult to talk. So it's a good time now to sort that sort of thing out. And then we had on the first day of the 21, so Happy New Year to everyone for that. But I personally look at the New Year being the solstice, the 21st of December. And the root sort of really kicked in. And it's really strange because the earthquakes, as you can well see, they've really died down. They're sort of following the sun in that downward turn that we saw a little bit earlier on. And the vibrations have been missing, let's put it that way. But you could probably only say the root chakra was the only one that was really singing out. And then we had on the second, things picked up a little bit again. That root was being balanced out by the crown chakra, but still that throat chakra was there, and that solar plexus with a touch of the heart. And if you remember when I was doing the dowsing on the which I done in the video on the energy update on the 11th of December, you can go back and have a look at it. It was all about the solar flare and how that affected the vibration of the earth and the sequence of chakras that was coming through those energy lines. And I was saying there was a pull on the heart, and there certainly was, as we saw earlier a couple of weeks ago with that big earthquake in, I think it was in Bosnia, which really rang the heart, and that's still been ringing since. As you can well see, there's a few earthquakes down in the Antarctica region, and that's sort of keying up a little bit of a reset in the rhythm, which we can feel with that filament energy that came through. And here we can start seeing it coming through even more at the base of Africa, just off the south of there. But the energies were all over the place, really. You know, they were really in sort of transition as this reset is sort of happening. If there was anything, it would be the throat chakra. And then we came into the reset, which was on the 4th. And we went back to the root chakra. That started playing in. All of a sudden, the solar plexus completely dropped out, pretty much. There was nothing on the throat chakra or the third eye chakra. So it might have been a little bit more sort of hazy to see the future, see how things are picking up. But that reset was done, and then on the 5th, this is where we had the drought. We were down to 11 earthquakes on that day, and this is USGS earthquakes. You can go onto the European site of earthquakes. It's just their map is a little bit more difficult to work with, so I can't really show you on these videos. But they do put in a lot more of the smaller earthquakes. I set this at minimum of 3 magnitude and up, and as we can see on this day, Nothing really happening. It's really just died down, and that was yesterday. And that dying down brought through that whole sort of sensation of a little bit of feeling a bit low on today, the 6th of January 2021. And we could see that. So was there announcements that were made on the 4th and the 5th before that reset came in? Yeah, there was, wasn't there? There was a lockdown in the UK. So that they announced that. There was an announcement by Trump, I think, that was sort of saying, trying to get Georgia or something like that going on, and trying to get this Senate House so they can to be honest, I don't really follow politics. I get very confused by it. The logic of politics, and I think everybody can say here that the logic with the pandemic has been very confusing. I can't follow it anymore. I find it difficult to follow the logic, if anything else. Okay, but we will go into that a little bit in this video. So what's just coming down the sun to us? Well, unfortunately, as we're going to be looking into the gestation period of the sun here, we've got, and I did say this in, I think it was last week or the week before, that the sun will calm down. It should calm down for another couple of weeks after that. Unfortunately, I'm going to be a bit like the government. I'm going to say it's going to be prolonged, and I think we will be in a slowdown for another foreseeable 2 weeks. So this is going to push it up to a real month of slowdown from the vibrations coming from the sun. And this, you may feel that it will drop out. I'm hoping that the white noise and the vibration in the background that gives us a little bit of an upbeat energy picks up over the next couple of days, but we won't get any direct vibration to the earth, as it were. That can cause frustration, and I think it will make people boil over the next week, 2 weeks. We'll see what happens. Yeah, keep an eye on the news. I wouldn't get involved in too much stuff. Just concentrate on your own path. If you've been sorting out your base problems over the last month, if you've managed to get a lot sorted, you may find yourself with a bit of free time to actually move on and do other things that you enjoy, a bit of pleasures in life. Yeah. Okay, so just looking at these vortexes that are in the northern and southern hemisphere, as we can see here, this is the northern hemisphere vortex around the Arctica, and we can see that section down by Mongolia and everything like that is really powerful now, and they've been getting some seriously base, very, very low temperatures. So that made me look into these low temperatures, what's going on, and we'll be going to that in a little bit in a moment. But in the meantime, we can see that northern hemisphere has really started picking up its polar vortex, which is really early. The southern hemisphere, you've moved into your summer, so enjoy it, put your shorts on and get down the beach if you're allowed to. But we can see by that polar vortex down in Antarctica, it really has dropped out. If you can go back and see on other past news, you can see it a lot stronger. So I think you're going to get a lot of water this year, this summer. It will tend to be a very humid summer. We're in Australia, New Zealand, and etc. But in the northern hemisphere, we should be feeling the cold, and I think we have been feeling the cold. We've certainly been feeling it here. You know, we've been down to -2 during the day. We're going to be set to be around about that for the next week. We've had snow, and we've had a nice sunny day today, but we're going to get some more snow coming in. And this is all to do with the rhythms of the sun. And if we can if you can get into that rhythm of the sun, then it's a lot easier for you to actually overcome difficulties that are put into your way, or moments of doubt or moments of blues that have been put into your way by the world outside, that you can get through them, so you can actually understand this rhythm, so you know when the bottom of the wave is, so then you can adjust your surfboard to take yourself back up the wave yourself, rather than waiting for the rhythm to do it itself. And then you'll be ready and set. The moment the energy kicks in, you'll be off and rocking and rolling. So let's just have a look at these sort of rhythms and how they connect to us, these universal rhythms. Now, I was talking about those plasma chords on the sun, and that you can see in the bottom left there, and how they are equated, or how I equate them to equivalent of the umbilical cords and the foundation, the stem cells of life, and how they build up in us, how they create us, how they create everything around us, and also how to create, sort of beginnings of new things. And this is a real beginning time. The vibrations of the earth have certainly changed. I haven't been dowsing for the last 3 or 4 days, but I will be going dowsing this week, and I will be doing a video on Facebook. Do check out the link below. Become friends with myself, and you'll be able to see some extra tidbits from there. But that happened on the 2nd and the 3rd, and what you can see the video next to it, which is this one here, was that solar flare that I did a report on the 11th of December that happened on the 7th of December. Okay, so between the 7th of that initial vibration coming out from the solar flare, we then had a lot of filaments being born on, or the umbilical cords being born on the surface of the sun. We are now 28 days later when that umbilical cord was released in our direction. It only gave the Earth a glancing blow, as it were, but it certainly did sort of happen sort of 28 days after that first initial solar flare back in December. Now, as you can see on the top here, this is an embryo, a human embryo, just gradually growing. Well, it's not, it's actually a drawing, as you can well see, but the umbilical cord, that really comes in at the end of the 4th week. So that's 28 days. So that goes perfectly in with the solar cycle. If we look at what happened on the earthquakes in this section here, we can see on the 4th of January that reset was put in just after those umbilical cords were coming in. So if that's the case, then basically are we looking at the birth of the solar cycle 25? Is this really it after the precursors of the conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn, and also the total eclipse? What happened there? So, is this sort of saying to us, okay, this new cycle is being born at this, or being going through the gestation period, therefore that zippy vibration should be coming back to us around about June, July period, which I think that's when we get a lot more sunspots, and that will increase the vibrations that are coming towards the Earth, which affects the Earth in huge ways. It also affects us in huge ways. And I think it would be very difficult to impose rules and regulations upon everybody from June onwards, because people will get very frustrated very quickly. So be wary of sort of rules and regulations that have been put out there at this present time, simply because, humans tend to do stupid things sometimes, and I wouldn't put it past humans to do stupid things. So, if they're working to the same timetable as the sun, if governments and stuff like that are working to the same timetable as the sun, then maybe they're having to push things through and make it go a lot quicker. So I would be personally, I'd be a little bit wary. Obviously, I don't know as much as you know. I can only take from what I see around me and what I see from the vibrations. And the vibrations don't really sort of stack up, which we'll go into now. Let's just have a look at that, the temperatures of the Earth. So this year, now this is a bit of a surprise, because I don't know if you ever saw in the news that they were saying lockdown has increased the temperature of the Earth. And now they've just released the temperatures for December 2020. And it turns out that over the past year, we have actually dropped by over 0.5 degree. And I thought the temperatures were supposed to be going up. It's all very confusing. These temperatures are satellite-based temperatures, which were adjusted 3 or 4 years ago. There's a whole kerfuffle about these temperatures, because they've reduced the hot periods and reduced the previous hot periods and decreased the cold periods, changed the figures. And if you want to know about that, I'm not a climatologist, I'm just making observations. And with these sunspots here and these sun cycles, as you can see, below us, the temperature did tend to sort of follow it until around about sort of 5 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, where things started changing. So these temperatures, as we can see over here on the left-hand side, it goes back to 1979, and these are the solar cycles that are down below. So look at the solar cycle between 1960 and 1975. It was one of the lowest cycles that we've had in a long time. And then we had from 1980, from where these temperatures start, this was after a cooling period on Earth. In the 1970s, temperatures went quite low. There was a lot of snow in the UK in the 1970s, heavy episodes of snow, and that follows the previous solar cycle. Then we went into solar cycle 21, 22, 23. Now these solar cycles, okay, they weren't as high as, say, like solar cycle 29, but as you can see with the grey lines, they were much more intense over a longer period. So therefore, they're increasing the temperatures. So from 1979, going up to the peak in 1998, 2000, oh look, how that corresponds. So the temperatures naturally would go up. And then the temperatures sort of dropped off between 2000 and 2010, 8 and 9, sorry. And that shows what happened there, because the last solar cycle 24, was very low. And we should start seeing these cold temperatures coming in. So in theory, now we're coming into solar cycle 25, things should get a lot colder. I personally believe, and it's only one of my personal beliefs, I've got, I'm not, as I say, as a climate scientist, but my own personal belief that the sun is the biggest factor on the climate of the Earth. We're only introducing this into the IPCC over the last year, and already since they've been putting in the effects of the sun, the results are not the same as what they've been telling everyone for the past 30 years about global warming and etc. I think pollution is a very bad thing. I don't agree with it. I think we should sort that out, because we're not the only living beings on this planet. We share it with a lot of other living beings, such as trees, such as animals, and etc. And so I think pollution is not necessarily a good way to go forward. But that doesn't necessarily mean that CO2 is the biggest driver. That's what I'm saying. It's been put into question at this moment, and it should be questioned. I think everything should be questioned, and you shouldn't be mocked for questioning it. I think it's very logical and reasonable to question everything, not to take everything as face value. So we do good journalism, good investigation, which we're lacking these days, I feel. Let's get on to pandemics then, something a little bit lighter. Okay, so here we have at the top graph, pandemics according to solar cycles. And this goes back, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oof. I think this goes back 250 years. Now the red dots here, as you can see, the red dots, you've got red dots and blue dots. Red dots are confirmed pandemics. The only red dots that are non-confirmed is what we're going through at the moment, and one back 100 odd years ago, 140, 150 years ago. So over 85% of influenza pandemics happen during high solar cycles. We are, hang on a second, sorry about that. We are in solar cycle 24, which is down there, and we are in the lowest part of the cycle. Already solar cycle 24 was very low, and now we're in the low part of the cycle, so it's even lower. So to have a pandemic at this present time is completely unnatural. It does not fall under the rules or rhythms of nature. So is this a natural pandemic? I couldn't tell you. But as I said earlier on, humans do bizarre things, and sometimes they mess up, and as I say, it's good to question, and I don't take anything at face value. I will listen to every side and every point of view, because that's a good way to do it. And then I will then put it up against hard evidence of solar cycles, of rhythms of previous pandemics, and etc. And this one really doesn't fall into it. So, is it a natural pandemic? I wouldn't put my money on it if I was betting on it. But then, that's me. What do you think? Put a few comments in the section below, and obviously I will respond to any sort of comments that are put in there. So please do. So these rhythms that we're coming to at the moment, the giving birth of the new 25 cycle 25 of the sun, you should be feeling it. You should be looking at this period at the moment of a renewal, of a building a new way of being. Yeah, so you've got the time, you've got the space, trying to do something different with your life. Enjoy your life in a different way. It should be good. I know it's a difficult week. It's been a difficult week for a lot of people, and I do believe this difficulty is not going to go away, over the next 2 weeks. We should have that white noise, as I said, that should be picking up, but it might be a little bit hard over the next 2 weeks. So please do take care of yourself. Don't forget, put on a loud music, dance all over the kitchen. It's great fun whilst making a cake. Hey, why not? You know what I mean? So it's good to notice your rhythms, and this is all part of the study that we do here at Cymatic TV, and also through my books that I've been publishing. One that you can get at the moment called The Event. There is a link down below, and you should be able to go and see and pick up that from for you to read. In the meantime, I will be doing a new update at the weekend. I will restart that up now that the festive period is out the way. But I think I will be doing that more on the Sunday night, either the Saturday or the Sunday night. So keep an eye on that. We are actually doing these videos to do with pole shift as well that's coming out. They are big videos, so it's going to be an hour and a half long, 3 videos over a period of an hour and a half. It's a lot of information that we're putting together, so do bear with us. It is coming. Okay? In the meantime, please do enjoy yourself. And that has been your energy update. Ciao for now.
Don't believe, just know. Cymatic TV, turning vibration into reality.